The Xanthari combat instructor's mandibles clicked with what could only be described as condescension. Commander Vexathor stood before the assembled cadets of the Galactic Defense Academy, his forearms gesturing dramatically at the holographic display showing human combat statistics. "Observe," he announced, his translator rendering his chittering speech into standard galactic. "Humans, the newest species to join our coalition. Their reflexes are 40% slower than Xanthari, their accuracy rating 33% below Krillian standards, and their hand-eye coordination barely surpasses that of the Grulian slug farmers." A few nervous laughs echoed through the chamber. In the back row, Ashley Chen sat perfectly still, her dark eyes fixed on the instructor. Beside her, Alex Morrison shifted uncomfortably, sensing the storm brewing in his friend's silence. "Humans lack precision," Vexthor continued, zooming in on a particularly embarrassing clip of human soldiers missing targets during training exercises. "They are at best adequate soldiers when given overwhelming technological advantages. But in any contest of pure skill," he made a gesture equivalent to a dismissive wave, "they are simply outmatched by superior species." Ashley's jaw tightened. She'd heard variations of this speech for 3 months now, ever since humanity had been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Coalition. Every instructor, every superior officer, every alien cadet seemed to have an opinion about how humans didn't quite measure up. "Ash," Alex whispered. "Don't," but she was already standing. "Commander Vexthor," Ashley's voice cut through the lecture hall like a blade. "I'd like to request a demonstration." The Xanthari's compound eyes swiveled toward her. "Excuse me?" "A demonstration," she repeated, stepping into the aisle. "Of precision. You versus me. Any test you choose." The chamber fell silent. Challenging an instructor was technically permitted under Academy regulations, but it was rarely done and never by humans, who were still trying to prove they belonged. Vexthor's mandibles spread in what his species used as a smile. "Cadet Chen, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I've been a combat instructor for 20 standard cycles. I've mastered 17 different weapon systems and hold 3 galactic marksmanship records. Then you should have no problem accepting," Ashley said calmly. Alex buried his face in his hands. This was either going to be legendary or a complete disaster. Knowing Ashley, it could easily be both. Vexthor's amusement seemed genuine. "Very well. Let us make this educational for your classmates." He moved to the equipment locker, extracting what looked like a crossbow, a Krillian bolt launcher, standard issue for boarding actions where projectile weapons were safer than energy discharge. "We'll use these. 3 shots each at a standard combat target from 50 meters. Highest accuracy wins." "Agreed," Ashley said, taking the weapon he handed her. "But let's make it more interesting." "Oh?" Vexthor tilted his head. "You wear your full combat helmet. I'll aim for the visor slit." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Visor slits were typically 3 centimeters wide, designed to protect against shrapnel while allowing minimal vision. Hitting one from 50 meters with a bolt launcher was nearly impossible. The bolts themselves had significant drop over distance and were affected by air currents. "And you?" Vexthor asked, clearly enjoying what he saw as human bravado masking incompetence. "I'll leave mine off," Ashley said. "Won't need it." Alex wanted to drag her out of there to save her from the humiliation. But he'd known Ashley since basic training on Earth. When she got that look in her eyes, that cold, calculating expression, she was 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Vexthor donned his helmet, the reinforced visor narrowing his field of vision to that tiny horizontal slit. He took his position at the firing line, raised the bolt launcher with 2 of his forearms for maximum stability, and fired. Thunk, thunk, thunk. 3 bolts, 3 hits, all within the target's center mass. Respectable accuracy by any standard. Your turn. "Cadet Chen," Vexthor's voice came through his helmet speakers, tinged with satisfaction. Ashley checked the bolt launcher, feeling its weight testing the tension. She'd grown up hunting in the Appalachian Mountains with her grandfather. Not with high-tech weapons, but with compound bows and recurves. She understood projectile physics in her bones, in a way that no amount of simulator training could replicate. She raised the weapon one-handed. "Cadet, you should use proper form," another instructor began. Ashley fired. The bolt screamed across the range and struck Vexthor's helmet with a metallic ping, dead center of the visor slit. The bolt didn't penetrate the reinforced material, but it hit precisely where Ashley had aimed, exactly where an enemy's eye would be. The room went absolutely silent. That was luck, Vexthor said, but his voice had lost its confidence. Ashley's second shot answered him. Another ping, slightly right of center on the visor slit, still within the 3-centimeter gap. Impossible, someone whispered. For her third shot, Ashley did something that would be replayed in Academy training videos for years to come. She glanced at Alex, winked, then fired without looking at the target. The bolt already loose before her eyes returned to Vexthor. Ping left of center this time. 3 for 3. Ashley lowered the weapon and walked toward the instructor, her boots echoing in the stunned silence. She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he had to look down at her through that narrow visor slit she'd just hit 3 times in a row. "You're right, Commander," she said quietly, though her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. "Humans lack precision. We're slower, weaker, and less accurate than most species in the Coalition." She paused, letting the weight of the 3 bolts on his helmet speak for itself. "But we've been fighting and hunting on a death world for 200,000 years. We learned precision not in simulators, but in forests where one missed shot meant starvation, in wars where one mistake meant extinction. We don't have forearms for stability or compound eyes for depth perception. We have something better." Ashley tapped her temple. "We have adaptation. We have determination, and we have 10,000 generations of ancestors who refused to quit, refused to be prey, refused to accept that we weren't good enough." She turned to address the entire room. "So yes, by your metrics, we lack precision. But by our metrics?" She gestured at Vexthor's helmet. "We're just getting started." The Zenthari instructor slowly removed his helmet, examining the 3 bolt impacts clustered within the narrow visor slit. When he looked at Ashley again, something had changed in his expression. Respect, perhaps, or recognition. "It seems," he said carefully, "that I may need to revise my assessment of human capabilities." "That would be appreciated, Commander," Ashley replied. As she returned to her seat beside Alex, he leaned over and whispered, "That was either the coolest or stupidest thing I've ever seen." Ashley allowed herself a small smile. "Por qué no los dos?" From that day forward, combat instructors at the Galactic Defense Academy stopped using humans as examples of inadequacy, and whenever someone questioned whether humanity truly belonged among the stars, someone would inevitably mention the human cadet who put 3 bolts through a visor slit just to make a point. Humans might lack precision, they'd say, but they never lacked courage.